I'm Ashley Hendricks, and I will be sharing some information about my initial proposal with my husband today, just to educate him a little bit on the dangers of plastic and the ocean. Okay, for the purpose of this info talk, I set up a red plastic disposable cup, a unopened Nestle bottle of water, a SpongeBob tumbler, and a Brita filtered water bottle. So which of these do you think is the best for the environment?
The Brita water bottle.
And why do you think so?
Because it's reusable. Okay,
so we will talk about that later. For the moment, let me just give you a little information. So plastic doesn't break down, and it is, it has a lot of toxins in it, which you may have heard about in recent studies that the news often covers, that discusses how bad it is to leave like plastic bottles around heat, such as in the car, because it releases those toxins and it's not good for your body, just like almost every other thing we eat in life these days. And it also threatens the aquatic life in the ocean because they can either choke on the things that we waste, or things like the six-pack holders can get caught around their necks. So a while ago there was a big movement to make sure they were cut so it wouldn't get stuck around like dolphins or anything like that. Plastic also requires extreme amounts of petroleum to produce, so that also harms our environment in a totally different way. That's bad for our water and our air, and it also accounts for 5% of our national consumption of petroleum, which is quite a bit for solely plastic. It wasn't until 1987 that the Marine Plastic Pollution Research and Control Act made it illegal to dump plastic into the ocean from, larger companies or vessels that dispose of things there. And a couple states, well, at least 16 currently, restrict products that are not biodegradable, especially things like the six-pack or container holders. Some of those are Massachusetts, New York, and Rhode Island. When it's biodegradable, when it's exposed to extreme heat, such as being in the sun, whether it's in the ocean or some sort of landfill, it becomes weak and brittle, and it's easier to break down and not disintegrate, but degrade easier, I guess. So there are a couple things that we can do. And coastal cleaning has been a big movement, especially on the coast. Since we're landlocked here in Arizona, that isn't really a big option. But back home in Maryland, we could do it. We could go to Ocean City and help clean up, which they need a lot of. Or over in California, if you venture off in that direction. And they usually find a lot of trash that's like plastic bottles, plastic bags, lids, food waste, just things that we're negligent about and uninformed, actually, because if we were, we might make some better choices. One of those may be choosing alternative materials. So if you go to the grocery store, use a recyclable, that sounds weird saying, recyclable bag, or reusable. Also, you can just recycle in your household, which we do, so that's nice, especially because where we lived in Maryland, recycling was not required. It was community-based, but I've noticed a lot of places in Tucson, at least every house I drive by, they have both regular waste and a recycling bin, so they're at least trying to make it more common, which is good. So, back to these containers here. Of course, the red plastic disposable cup is the worst because it is disposable and people use many of those, especially college kids, whether it's through beer pong or just drinking regular liquids. They are used and disposed of almost immediately. So those require a lot of time, energy, and waste. The Nestle Pure Life water I brought out because years ago they were making a big statement about how they reduced the amount of plastic used in their tops. However, because people don't reuse these, and it's actually recommended not to because of the toxins that I talked about, they're just as bad as the disposable cups. It's just more of a preference, I guess, for those who want filtered water. The SpongeBob tumbler is great because it's reusable also. Well, not also, it's reusable. The Brita filter is reusable. The Brita bottle is reusable also. However, the difference between those two is that the Brita bottle requires a filter. I don't know if you can, well, yeah, you can see it, which is a plastic filter. So, as good as you may think that it is, in comparison to the other options, the SpongeBob tumbler would actually be best. With the Brita filter, they have to be replaced every 3 months. So that's more plastic that needs to be produced, and it's also more money that the consumer has to spend. So the SpongeBob tumbler is actually a good option. And if someone wants filtered water, they can simply boil their own, which saves more money. You don't have to go out and buy more bottles, more water, anything like that, or even a filter for your sink. There are definitely other options to avoid using so much plastic. So now, what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting.
So which bottle do you plan on using?
The tumbler cup.
Sounds like a plan. Well, thank you for your time, and I hope you learned a thing or two today.